Yes, Joe, these are my words and my words alone and don't necessarily represent the views of this station. But they should. Good morning, Sir Joe in the Know, and what another great day it is to get up and get at 'em. Well, Joe, heard sweet music coming in this morning, Joe, as you were playing our country's national anthem. Reminded of this being the 250th anniversary of our country's founding, my granddaughter, by immaculate acceptation, meaning 10-year-old Georgia girl, was excited to tell me a couple weeks ago that she had a new favorite holiday. Yes, July the 4th, Independence Day. And of course, making me happy to see that my my teaching and education regarding history had borne some fruit. And some say, man, you brainwashing your granddaughter? Absolutely, I'm brainwashing her. Just like I believe our listeners should be brainwashing their children and grandchildren for success, because there's going to be plenty of people willing to brainwash them for failure all their lives. One of the reasons why I take her with me to the voting booths, this being an election year, to allow her to help me fill out my election form. Yes, raise your children on the right path so when they're old, they will not depart from it. Doesn't mean we won't depart from it in our younger years, as we can all one time attest, but know when we get older, we'll come back to that good, the clean, the pure, the positive and powerful. Which segues well into what I want to talk about this morning. Did you know, Joe, that if you give some people enough rope, they'll hang themselves? That's right. Especially those individuals in the habit of using fear over fact or emotion over logic while reacting instead of responding. A fact every enlightened leader should understand, because otherwise some individuals will convict themselves. Just like utilizing the power of questions. I mean, you know what the power of questions are, don't you? They cause us to think inwardly. Just like when your young child or grandchild has done something wrong and you ask them, did you do that? The question causes them to think inwardly and they convict themselves. Because they have to learn how to mask their expressions, their guilt can be read on their faces. I mean, it works in adult life as well. It's just adults have learned how to mask our expressions. Got to thinking about these facts Thursday after my morning comments referencing the upcoming sheriff's race here in Boyle County, which will be decided on May the 19th primary between current Sheriff Taylor Bottom and former Sheriff Marty Elliott, both Republicans and both good guys. But asking the question whether the state auditor Allison Ball's report that the sheriff's office was not in compliance with a $189,000 budget overrun for year 2024 could be due in part to the purchase of these oversized pickup trucks that aren't pursuit rated, meaning that if there was an accident while in pursuit, there could be potential liability to the county, meaning tax dollars. And having not seen them around recently, just wondering if it was due to the former Sheriff Elliott enlightening the public regarding this fact. Now, Joe, don't get me wrong, I could care less what kind of vehicles the Sheriff's Department drives, outside of being pursuit rated and the additional maintenance that's required. I mean, I can understand wanting to drive those kind of vehicles. But since our forefathers reminded us that in order for our republic to last, it would require and inform populace, it seemed the type of information that was worth the public knowing. Of course, this overrun attributed to salaries was not intentional and corrected in the year 2025, as mentioned on Thursday. And as such, the sheriff's office and judge executive's office called it a wash. Well, later on Thursday, the judge executive addressed my factual comments implying that I was not telling the truth. Paraphrasing, because I wouldn't want to put words in the judge executive's mouth, because as the wit said, that would be unsanitary. But it was due to the state having changed the way they do budgets after doing them one way for like 20 years. And once they were made aware, they corrected the error, finishing by saying the facts are the facts are the facts. Well, la-ti-da. Now, Joe, have you ever noticed how some people will make a statement of fact to get our attention headed in one direction, to then turn around and mislead us in the other? Like making the statement that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Who can argue with that fact unless you're a Democrat who has a problem defining a man or a woman? But because they stated a truth that you're hopefully going to believe everything else they say or imply afterward. You know who's really good at this, don't you? Yeah, that's right, the devil, the father of lies, who knows the Bible better than any of us. Uses a little truth to snag us before reeling us in, where we say, preach to us, brother. I mean, isn't this just like a member of a church congregation being upset with a pastor who's preaching from the Bible, who gets convicted by the message because it points right back at themselves? That person doesn't have a problem with the pastor. They got a problem with God. Take it up with God. He's the one who said it. In the same way, this isn't a problem with the messenger. This is having a problem with the auditor. Yes, Alison Baugh, who said it. This needs to be taken up with her or the state legislature because it is the law or yes, statute. But just like a child and adult body who goes around creating discord among the brethren, wants to imply that the messenger, is not telling the truth. And the question we got to ask ourselves is, what does that say about a member of the congregation or a candidate? You know, with all this BS or Biden stuff, Bashir stuff, with some saying that Netanyahu talked Trump into attacking Iran, which Trump has contradicted, but saw an interesting video of Trump addressing this issue, Iranian issue, in the 1980s after our hostages were taken, where he stated we should have attacked Iran then and taken Karg Island. And when the interviewer asked him back in the time if he'd consider running for president, he said he's not interested in politics and said he would possibly consider, but the thing about politics is that you might have a person with better ideas, but then the people end up voting for the person with the prettiest smile, or should say giggle or cackle, or perhaps name recognition. Yeah, they get elected with the public knowing all the facts, or I dare say the truth. That's why in this segment, Joe, as well as my Saturday morning show, whenever making a statement that might be controversial for some, I always want to provide simple, common sense, and practical reasoning for the perception, which believe in time will become self-evident to the listener. So just like the song by the Oak Ridge Boys, dig a little deeper in the well, let's dig a little deeper in the well. Under KRS 68.210, the fiscal court is responsible for establishing and controlling the county budget, including settling limits on expenditures such as salaries. Under KRS 68.240, if a department is going to exceed a budgeted line item, that matter must be brought before fiscal court. I repeat, must be brought before fiscal court, approved and entered into the official record through a budget amendment during that year. This process is not optional. It is required. My question is, was it brought before fiscal court in the appropriate manner? Hopefully it was. So if there's any change in procedure, particularly one affecting salary cap, it would be expected that the county judge executive would be aware of it, introduce it, and ensure it was properly adopted through fiscal court. The fiscal court would then be made aware, and it would require a vote and documentation in the official minutes. A procedural change would require a clear motion, a vote, and documentation showing the change and when. Some say, well, what does it really matter? Well, if everybody did it, what kind of situation will we have? They're meant to prevent overspending before it occurs, not to explain it after the fact. And it's the county judge executive who serves as the chief executive over this process. Former President Harry S. Truman had a statement on his desk that read, "The buck stops here," meaning the blame could not go above his head. Such changes in procedure are the responsibility of the chief executive of the county, the judge executive. Now, as reported by the Lexington Herald, years back when there was a failure in collecting the taxes on a timely manner, which caused pain for some groups, reasoning for given by the county clerk, reasoning was given that there was not enough help, needed more employees. Now as county judge executive, it seems that it's not the buck that stops here. It seems the buck never gets here. Someone else's fault. So here's a fact I believe we can all agree, stated by former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it. Ignorance may deride it. But in the end, there it is. And in the end, there it is. The facts don't lie.